Good evening. I have 7 p.m. here in Historic Town Hall on January 8th, 2026. Happy New Year to all. Please be reminded that we are being televised and recorded by Sandwich Community Television. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, and just to remind the four of us here that all the votes will be roll call because Mr. Sampson is remote. Okay? Okay. Anybody here for public comment? Review and approval of minutes.
Okay, make a motion, we approve the minutes of 12/4/25, Select Board, Finance Committee, and School Committee.
Motion by Mr. George, second by Mr. Ellis. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Sampson?
Aye.
It's unanimous.
Okay, make a motion, we approve the minutes 12/4/25, Select Board minutes.
Motion by Mr. George, second by Mr. Ellis. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 It's unanimous.
Okay, make a motion, we approve 12/18/25, Select Board minutes.
Motion by Mr. George. I'm sorry, Patrick.
I can't hear Patrick if he's talking.
Sorry, David.
No worries.
My mic wasn't on. I don't think you'll be able to approve these minutes because you won't have a quorum. I was not present at that meeting.
Makes three of us.
Yeah, this
We can do it with three, right?
three's good, right?
Yep.
Oh, Dave's here. I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay. Aye.
It's okay.
He's got to second it then.
Okay, motion by Mr. George, second by Mr. Sampson. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Sorry about that.
Okay.
Okay.
Town manager report.
A couple of quick updates. In terms of the next board meeting, we did post before lunch a executive session only meeting for next Monday afternoon at 2:30 at 100 Route 6A in the lower level conference room, an executive session to talk about disposition of real property, Town Hall Annex 145 Main Street. So just wanted to announce that publicly. The board's next meeting will be the FY27 budget presentation at the end of the month, and that's January 29th here at Town Hall. And then the following Tuesday, which is February 3rd, is the Finance Committee budget presentation at 6 o'clock, again in this room. We're going to talk about the budget to give you an update a little bit later in the night. A couple of other quick things I thought you'd be interested in. There were 5 applications for Community Preservation Act funds this year, and after reviewing them, the Community Preservation Committee voted to support 4 of the applications. The 5th was still putting together details, so they withdrew their application, which was the Masonic Lodge. So they withdrew their application. They're going to work on putting stuff together more and then resubmitting it for next year. But the ones that were voted to be supported was the Recreation Department. It was primarily for resurfacing and for some freshwater beach renourishment. Just over $500,000. The Sandwich Middle High School tennis court resurfacing for just over $750,000. A ropes course at Camp Linden, which is Cape Cod YMCA, for $50,000, and the Housing Assistance Corporation's emergency shelter for $100,000. And that last one is a regional effort that several towns are going to participate in. So wanted to tip you off on those, and we'll get more information as the warrant gets closer. And like I said before, the Masonic Lodge is going to come back and withdrew their application. Just one other quick one. Unbeknownst to us, this was being worked on, but apparently the certain entities at the state approved Sandwich becoming a seasonal community, which previously had certain like demographic and other characteristics that they wanted you to meet in order to be designated as such, and we really didn't meet those. But I think there was a desire to consider the whole Cape. Heather and I are going to do some more research. We know a little bit about it, but not enough. So I think it's something that if we wanted to be so designated, I believe we have to go to a town meeting. But we'll put together some background information on what it all means and what differences apply. Again, a lot of it's geared towards communities that have, a much greater percentage of their homes being second homes. But we'll get some information together and take a look at that as we move towards town meeting.
Great, because presumably there are some advantages.
Yeah, there's certain things I believe maybe for housing. I also know that it gives you options, which I don't know if the board would even want to consider for, local taxes changes, a couple of different things. So we'll try to put together, and I'm sure the state has some information on their website. We just haven't had much time to look into that yet.
Terrific, thank you.
And almost everything else we're going to update you on later tonight.
Anybody have any questions for Bud or Heather? No. Correspondence, statements, and announcements. Okay, I just have a couple, if you don't mind. The Commission on Disability met yesterday evening. Strategic plan for accessibility, community engagement, civic engagement, policy review, both municipal and school, and logistics. Accessible parking campaign draft was also considered. Progress. Then the school committee met. Implementation of the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education early literacy screening mandate. A 2026-2027 Sandwich Public School budget update and presentation of the cost center budgets by facility. The grant application, as was just reported to the Community Preservation Commission, is moving on. The Superintendent's Evaluation Subcommittee reported positive results through December of 2025. Progress in general. Now, staff meeting. Paul Houlihan, Fund for Sandwich. Update on fund activities and grant awards. Thank you for joining us, Paul.
Thanks. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you, and I'll be brief, as is my custom. First, a little background. Fund for Sandwich is a permanent endowment of the Cape Cod Foundation, and under that umbrella gives us our nonprofit status and also our tax-exempt status. So any person who wants to make a donation can take advantage of that tax-deductible opportunity. We are one of 4 towns on the Cape that are the so-called town funds. The first was Falmouth, the second was Chatham, and then we heard about it back in 2015, I think, and approached the foundation, Cape Cod Foundation, and asked if we could become part of that. Because of a lot of benefits. They do a lot of the background work for us. And they finally agreed, and off we went. So the other towns are Falmouth, Chatham, Harwich, and ourselves. We were the third to get involved. We run ourselves through a committee process, and there's 5 of us that do this work. including Madeline Wing Adler, Denise Deaver, Paula Johnson, Tom Rockwell, and myself. And we've been together now for quite a number of years. So we're pretty well organized. We have a lot of representation from the education community, from the business community, obviously Paula Johnson and the public television, radio here, Tom Rockwell, who's an attorney, and myself. I've run nonprofit organizations all my life. Well, after I was 16. Our performance history is this. Last week we completed 9 years of operation, and we completed distributing $140,000 of donated funds to 42 organizations, all of whom were either based in Sandwich or work in Sandwich. I want to make clear to you that of that number, $140,000, almost 60%, or let me correct that, over 50% has gone directly to town departments. This includes the recreation department, where we provide scholarships for summer students, goes to the library. We helped with the whole development of the archives, goes to the school department, goes to the Council on Aging. So the town is really benefiting from the mechanism that we provide for people to donate. And that percent is going to increase dramatically, as I'll indicate in a couple minutes. We have two kinds of grants. The first we call proactive grants, and the second competitive grants. The proactive grants we give out in March and June, and those are grants that we go out and talk with a number of nonprofits and make a decision about which ones we feel we can support, and we're beginning that process right now for 2026. The second type of grant is a competitive grant that we engage in the fall. So RFPs go out to numerous organizations that are here or work in the town, all nonprofits, and we go through a competitive analysis of it. Our proposal review committee is made up of Kevin Surratt, Susan James, and Jonathan Finn. So they're pretty well familiar with this community also. Couple other things. In 2025, we provided $26,000 in grants to 12 organizations in the community. A couple examples. One is we helped to create the Dodge McKnight exhibition at the Sandwich Glass Museum across the street. We've just given money to the Nye Museum to help with accessibility, and on and on. So we will continue to do that work as long as we are able to get donations. And people can donate by going very simply to fundforsandwich.org. We accept and appreciate any amount, $10, $1,000. Whatever you can give is most welcome. And all of it goes to support the work in this community. We're beginning 2026 on a very positive note. And this all began about a year ago, right after Senator Fernandez was elected. And if you recall, at that time, the fair share funds of the so-called millionaire's tax was becoming fundable. So we met with Dylan and really advocated that there's two funds. There's the transportation fund and education fund. We don't do any transportation, but we've done a number of pieces of work on education. And we made the argument to him that, which he accepted, that Sandwich should get benefits of this also, and that, we wanted to focus on education. And he said, okay, I'm willing to work with you on that, but come back with a proposal. So we went immediately to the superintendent, and he literally pulled out of his drawer a one-page proposal, and that the principal at Forestdale School had put together. And we went back to Dylan and his staff, and long story short, we got it funded. So we just got $30,000, which will go to the Forestdale School garden project. And this garden is being created in the roundabout in front of Forestdale School. And it's going to be an exciting project because it will include every student in the school. It will involve the Wampanoag tribe in terms of educating students on their growing practices, their agricultural practices. And so the grand announcement / opening is going to be in the spring. All of you will be invited. Hope you will be able to come. And the students will hopefully benefit from this project. But that's a good start to 2026, so we'll see what happens after that. But I'll stop now, and any questions you have or comments, welcome.
Now, that Forestdale, if I may, that's a noble, it's a noble adventure, and it sounds like a lot of fun, too.
Yeah, and it's well underway. I mean, outside of the snow the other day, they've been working to construct it, and it's going to be a good-sized project, and has irrigation, we'll have lighting, we'll have outdoor classroom. So I think it'll be a good project.
Great.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Ellis.
Yeah, Paul, I just wanted to thank you for your efforts and your committee. And I was on the board when you first started, and it's unbelievable that 9 years have gone by. And it's amazing how diverse the recipients. I was looking over who received grants today, and the diversity is fabulous. And
Thank you.
it's made a lot of people's dreams come true.
Thank you.
So to be a lot of credit. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you. All set.
Okay, thank you very much for your reporting and your efforts as well. Okay. Old business, fiscal year 2027 budget update.
Again, we're going to go through the primary budget presentation at the end of the month, but I just thought I'd give you a quick update, which is the board knows we'll be doing, I think, every meeting between now and town meeting. I think it's important when you look at that one-page summary that we're so familiar with on the revenues and expenses. And I know Heather and Bill went through this with the board at the beginning of December. There's a lot of things at this stage of the game that are outside of our control and outside of our hands. So we're really anxious to hear the initial state estimates for not only our revenues, but also on the assessments and, expenses that we have to pay. We should get a first look at those just before our budget presentation at the end of the month. I'm sure has been shared with you previously, the group health insurance, which is probably what we're most nervous about. It's a national issue, not just a Sandwich issue or a Massachusetts issue. We won't get those rates for individually for our community until mid-February, so that's a bit away after the budget presentation. Typically, the county retirement assessment we usually get before the end of December, and they're double checking their numbers, so they haven't. What you see on this sheet reflects what we've been told so far, but they have not nailed that down yet, so we're waiting on that. Some of the other ones are smaller. We're not as nervous about. We've been in good discussions with Upper Cape Tech, so we know roughly what that could be. And then the school department just updated us after the budget I'm sorry, after the agenda material went out on Tuesday, and their number's actually beneath 3%. So when you see the next update, there'll be more of a balance on the bottom because what they're requesting has gone down. So all this is just to tell you that, we're really prepared for the end of the month. And I think the frustrating part is we also know that there's some big numbers on here that we won't know the final amounts for yet. So obviously, as soon as we get those, we'll update you. I did include what the general government operating budget, which is coming in under 3% in total. I broke it out by department, which is you'll have all the breakout in your budget binder. Some of the percentages look pretty overwhelming on a couple of the budgets, and the reason is we're moving some positions where they properly should be. So you see some budgets, for example, ours, that looks like it went up a lot. It's actually less total people than we have today when you factor in everyone, the positions that were moved in and those that have been moved out. You'll see other departments where those positions were, like the Planning and Development Office or the Center for Active Living, where those percentages are way down. So, we'll go through all that when we do our budget presentation. We're in really good shape. At the Cape Manager meeting this afternoon that Barnstable hosted, there were probably 8 or 9 of the 15 towns there. People went around the room quickly to say what their general government budgets were looking like, and we were far and away the least. There's towns down Cape that are looking at well over 6, 7, 8% for various reasons. So I think when you hear everything in total for the line items that we control, we're going to be in really good shape. And once we get the better information from the state and from health insurance and from the county, we'll fine tune. And as we always say, the beauty of local government, it's the only level of government that has to balance its budget, and we always do. And I think you'll look even at that summary that we have today, there's still a significant excess levy reserve. My guess is if things go our way, that reserve will probably even go up. So we're in pretty good shape. Heather and Bill have worked hard on the capital requests, and you'll see a quick summary. I think what's impressive, and even in a tight year, it looks like we're going to be funding over $2.2 million in requests. Over $800,000 of that is going to be paid for by enterprise funds or the ambulance fund. And so the total net request will be just over 1.4, but it's a sign of how healthy our ambulance fund, the Gulf Enterprise Fund, and Marina Enterprise Fund have been, that they're able to pay for some of those expenses that they need. So that's all positive. And I think, for tonight, it's good enough. I would just ask for patience because some of these numbers we're not going to get till a couple of days before we make our presentation to you. And as I highlighted, especially health insurance, we won't get that till later in February. So as it comes in, we'll let you know. The draft Finance Committee meeting schedule is in your packet. And based on our conversations with Chair Ed Colopy, it identifies what departments he's anticipating to do more focused presentations. Police, fire, DPW are going to come in on the same night. We're going to try to do a wastewater update along with human resources discussion, which will also encompass health insurance. Our capital and CPA requests will come in early March, and then Upper Cape Tech probably mid-March. So I think things are looking good. I don't remember a year at this stage where both the school and the town were coming in with operating budgets less than 3%, which is great. It should be very straightforward.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Dunham? Okay. Thank you very much. The fiscal year 2026 long-range plan, mid-year review, and future updates.
Yes, we included in your packet the existing FY26 long-range plan as the board voted last spring. Heather put together a great one-page summary of, a 9-page document, just bullet points about what's in the outline. And so this is the select board's plan. We hope in the next several meetings, we can have like good discussions about what the board wants to see or what we can change. Heather has led us meeting with groups of department heads just to try to get their feedback on either updates they had that, things we could cross off. Are there any big things that we're missing? I think we've met with 7 or 8 departments so far. We have several more planned for next week. So what we thought is once we got some of that, we would mark up the existing one and then really, at that point, open it up to the board to try to have great discussions about it. And I think it's something that would be important that all 5 of us, or all 5 of you are present when we have these, because it really is important, and it's something that we look at through the year. For example, one of the things that we've thought about doing to try to make this more concise is if you look on page 6, when it talks about our wastewater efforts in the CWRMP, it then proceeds to list 13 different things, all of which we're doing, all of which we're following up on. But, instead of listing them as almost separate, mini paragraphs, maybe we try to do a better description on what the CWRMP is and the big things, and then maybe just bullet point, 3 or 4 of the major things underneath it. Because as you guys know, so much of that is out of our hands, and, we're constantly have a lot of wastewater balls in the air in terms of trying to juggle things and get federal and state support, and we are making progress, but I don't know if we need to list 13 things. So things like that, because I think, if we made it a little bit more concise, it might be more user-friendly for the public and for all of us. And then Patrick could explain it better than I could, but that first page on the LRP, that goes back decades of when we did the first long-range plan, and Pam Terry hosted a lot of those meetings at her law office when we were trying to finalize it. But prior to that, there were a couple members of the finance committee that did, we did all sorts of trips down to Orleans, where one of them had an office to talk about, how to structure this, what to include, and not to throw too many names out there, but, we had a massive document at the end, thousands of pages when you factored in all the different reports that were attached to it. And then when Jim Pierce was on the board, he led a charge of trying to do a simpler document like this, knowing that we'd always have those reports to turn to as they got updated. And Heather could explain better than I could that many of those reports updated constantly, primarily the local comprehensive plan, our recreation and conservation, open space plan, there's a housing plan, there's all sorts of them. But it's really, we didn't think we'd go through each thing, but we just, especially where, Shane couldn't come tonight, but I think next time we'll give you a marked up version, and then we should talk about this quite a bit, maybe even have a workshop meeting or 2 to try to fine tune it.
Yeah, I've got, which I'm sure you do as well, an ancient long-range plan. In fact, it has Jim's name on it.
Yeah.
Very interesting, as is this. So yes, let's expand and
Can I ask a question?
develop our thoughts. Absolutely.
On page 4, under capital asset management, we have something called the Surplus Building Review Team Report. I've never seen that report, or
I'll get it.
is it for real?
It's probably 5 years old, but I'll get it. Yeah.
I was just curious.
No, yes. Ed Childs was on it.
All right. Wow.
It's probably more than 5 years old. Sorry, Ed.
Okay. And then the only other thing that while we're engaging staff in advancing a long-range goal, I wouldn't want them to miss out on this. I really think we should be evaluating the process of converting our saltwater beaches to resident only. And I just think that now that we have such lovely sandy beaches, and we have a lot of skins in the game there, it's not just federal money. It's our residents' money. It's our taxpayers' money. So now people have to strategize to get their cars onto the beach on busy summer days. it's like the rest of the Cape. So whether we advance that or not, I just think it would be worthwhile for us to look at, how does it work? How does it work in other towns? What policies exist? I mean, if you could, maybe if we could even just get 3 or 4 other towns' policies, just for us to look at them and see how they sort it out through, through your associations and others, you'll get feedback right away on whether, and I know it's controversial, it always is, and anything related to beaches, especially when they're beautiful sandy beaches. So, but that's something that I think should be in the plan.
Yes. Ms. Harper.
I just think, one, that's great to hear that from a board member. We really haven't been soliciting policy advice from the staff unless there's something that we have been working on that you're aware of that isn't reflected here that ought to be in a long-range plan. We all can think of a few of them, I'm sure. So that really is something that we'd want to hear, those types of policy direction from board members as we bring back changes and recommendations for you. We've really been kind of fundamental, letting them know this is coming their way, getting their feedback on some of the issues, the regional emergency communications plan, the flood hazard. There's a lot of things that we've done as a team with select board policy that ought to be reflected here. We haven't asked them for anything initiative-wise, but that's definitely something we can work on together.
And the other thing that I think needs to be boiled out is the road funding issue, and what do we get for what we're putting in? And not, this isn't a criticism, it's what do you get for 6 million? What do you get for 8 million these days? What do you get for 10 million? And if you're living on a road, what expectations do you have for the condition of your road improving? Is it the next 5 years? Is it the next 10 years? Is it the next 15 years? So, and I think we have all of that information, but I think it needs to be condensed into something, maybe later on in the budget process, we can get with Paul on this and, this, so anyway, it's just something I think we should keep an eye on.
I got something. Patrick has an idea, but I think we have to look at how we're going to maintain our beaches, what we got from the beach parking, nourishment.
Yeah.
Where's that money going to come from? If we've got people, Cape Cod, they all want to come down here and enjoy the beaches, and we're charging them for it. I think there's money to be made there too, but everybody can enjoy it, and we have a funding process when we charge them to park there. So we've got to look at that too. We don't want to, cut our face off and not get any money, because we don't want to go after the taxpayers all the time to keep the beach nourishment up. So it may be where we're getting a good chunk from non-residents. So we don't want to cut that off. So that's something we got to look at too.
Yeah, where's the money coming
Where's the money coming from? And we don't want to cut the funds off either.
Good point.
Bob, thank you very much, Mr. George. My head was going there as well, I must say, but will that be a part of the analysis that's being developed?
Well, we always review the revenues each year, so, excuse me, go ahead.
I think if you read through the plan, beaches are a major feature that are in here already. You're talking about framing it a different way, which we can certainly do. The questions you've asked tonight are really simple ones to answer. What are the revenues generated? What are the future costs, current annual costs? Those would not go in the plan, but those might be part of a dialogue as you develop your priorities. So those are things that we can work with you on and make sense, and I think are appropriately already in the plan. You're looking for some information to help you set what your policies are moving forward.
Yes, and thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry, Charlie, I saw you turn around there, but, I think there's a lot of data and questions that need to be asked for us to draw any real conclusions on this. So that would certainly be work to come.
Thank you. Okay. We good? Good. Okay. Upcoming meeting schedule.
Yeah, so the last schedule that you guys had, I think it went from like early fall through March, so I just realized time's going quick. So I just extended it from the beginning of the calendar year through, tried to get us past Labor Day. So again, this isn't set in stone, it's a draft. Depending on people's vacation schedules, if we need to move anything around, it's not a problem. And it doesn't preclude us from having special meetings like the issue that came up about the annex next Monday. That's not listed here. But just to try to give you a rough idea of the meeting schedule through September. And it skips the holiday weeks that we traditionally skip, and it, some of those things like the Triple MA Spring Conference, a couple of annual town election, those things. So it's all spelled out.
Right, starting with our next meeting. The busy season is here.
Yep.
Okay, thank you very much. Other matters not reasonably anticipated by the chair. I have none. Anybody else?
Yep.
Okay. New business. Recommended golf director appointment.
As the board's familiar, any department head appointment needs the board's authorization to allow my position to make the appointment. So just to give you a quick update, I'm recommending that Juliet Swift have the authority to appoint her as golf director. Just to give you a little bit of background, the interview team consisted of Charlie, Joe O'Connor, who with his wife Jennifer own and co-operate the Holly Ridge Golf Course. He was instrumental in helping us, not only structure things, as the board's familiar, before we ran an ad, we did a lot of soul searching. Do we continue to run it ourselves? Do we privatize it? We met with management companies. We met with 2 towns on Cape Cod who each run 2 courses. We met with Joe and Jen because they're so well respected on what they've done at Holly Ridge. So, we interviewed a lot of things, considered a lot before we ran the ad. As spelled out in the letter in your packet, we got 17 applications. We interviewed 5 candidates. In the end, 2 people came back for interviews. A third decided not to continue. And after going through everything, we recommend that Juliet be made the golf director. Her educational background and the training that she's had is spelled out in the letter. And I think the best way I can say it is on no notice, she was put in charge of the whole operation around the 4th of July and just did an incredible job, not only in terms of showing us her abilities and her knowledge, but also handling some really difficult circumstances, and was very direct with people that needed to be direct with, really did a great job. Her knowledge and her passion came through in the interviews, and we did a lot of discussion before we made this recommendation, and unanimously the whole group recommends that we proceed with this appointment.
Thank you. If I may, based upon Ms. Swift's 13 years here and the way she has developed into a basis for the effort, and I'm very comfortable. It's open for discussion, of course, but I'm comfortable as well.
I'd like to say that what we've done, and I'm a proponent of it, and I've stressed it, that we're starting to take people from within our own departments as they step up the ladder and, go through the years, they eventually become head of the departments. And we've done that, I think, with the last probably 5 or 6 department heads that we've taken within the department. And so this shows another one that we've done. It was somebody that started on the team and worked their way up to the top. So I'm glad that we can do that.
I should have added to my comments that we have two significant vendors at Sandwich Hollows, the food and beverage operators and, Jane Frost Performance Golf, I believe is the formal name. And it's fair to say our relations with those two providers has been transformed over the last 6 months, and it's been very refreshing to see what opportunities might exist moving forward. And it's all a public process on the RFP for the food and beverage service, but we did do that 3-year extension, after going out to bid earlier this year. Late last year. So, we feel like we're in good shape moving forward. And a lot of it has to do with the economy, golf business in general, but the last 4 years have been our best financial years ever. And so far, we're only 6-7 months into the fiscal year, and the weather's been horrible since December, but we're significantly ahead of last year, which is great. And a lot of that is weather dependent in the summer.
And Mr. George as well. I like to see this process, but all of these individuals, I would like to stress, meet pretty strenuous educational criteria as well, It's not because they have...
As much as I like to promote people from within, I would never recommend someone that I didn't think was the best candidate for the job for the people who applied. I don't care where they live. I don't care. I want knowledge, skills, ability, how they treat people, and how we think we're going to fit in with the Sandwich team, which is critically important. Right. And thankfully, as Bob said, we've had a lot of people come up within, but we're also not afraid where we need to take from outside, we do it. I think our HR process is second to none of anyone I know, and that's significantly due to Marie Buckner and Tara Way, who run our HR department. They, I don't know any other town on the Cape. One of those two individuals sits in on every interview we ever do for any year-round position, whether it's part-time or full-time, a detective, a firefighter, a laborer, and one of our positions. They would be there, doing a professional process and making sure we followed the right methods.
Agreed, very much so. So,
I would make a motion that we authorize the town manager to appoint Juliet Swift as the golf director.
motion by Mr. Sampson,
Second.
second by Mr. George. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye, it's unanimous. Thank you very much. Best wishes for success, Ms. Swift, continued success, Ms. Swift. Update on liquor license and pending application.
All right, so this one I'll do my best to explain, and Heather and I would like to thank Melissa Carroll, our office manager, who does all the licensing activities for the town. Next time you get our one-page budget summary of our department, look on the bottom on the revenue that's brought in. We bring in, I think, over $300,000 a year with all of our licenses, and Melissa does all of it. And she is so on top of things. So we had an interesting occurrence as we were closing out 2025 into 2026. So I just thought I'd explain what was going on, what's happened since then, and then I just thought I should share with you like some of the open discussions that Heather and I and Melissa have had, because some of these things are issues the board's talked about in the past. So very atypically, 2 year-round license holders gave up their licenses the last calendar day of 2025. January 1st is a holiday, so the first day they would be available was January 2nd. Literally for 2 weeks, Melissa was saying, I'm going to come in at 7 a.m. that day. I'm afraid there's going to be a line. We had 4 different businesses say that they would be on our door, and what made us a little bit nervous, just being honest, was that traditionally we've had a first come, first served policy. Well, what if 4 people show up at the same time? Well, someone's going to get it in first by a matter of minutes. So long story short, that didn't happen. It just so happened the 2 licenses that were freed up, one was an annual all alcohol, the other was an annual beer and wine. The We did get 2 people show up right away, submitted full applications, and I stress full applications, otherwise we don't take them. One was for an all-alcoholic, one was for beer and wine. It's been a full week since then. The other 2 people haven't showed up. But we were really nervous that we were going to be in a tough predicament where you guys would be considering 4 submitted licenses for 2 businesses. So I'll explain what they were. So China Palace, which years ago used to be called Tiki Hawaii, right? Yeah. In Canterbury, has not renewed their license. They plan to leave. So they've turned back an annual all alcohol. And then the Dunbar Restaurant and Tea Room, because they received an annual on-premise all alcohol through that special legislation, they returned their annual year-round wine and malt license. So neither business decided to transfer or sell those licenses. They physically turned them in, which that's rare too, because a lot of times if someone's going out of business or shifting, they try to sell that license. So 2 places applied. The couple that has bought the Next Door Burger Bar plans to run it as a B&B with a small restaurant/bar. And they've applied for an annual all-alcohol license. And then Snowy Owl Coffee Roasters has applied for an annual on-premises wine and malt license. So those were the 2 full applications that we received. Based on the schedule and other things we have planned, we are planned to hold the public hearings on Thursday, February 12th, because the next meeting is the budget presentation. The meeting after the JBCC commanders are in, we just thought it would be cleaner to do it all on one night. And then most importantly, because if you remember, there's some unique things with the Belfry and the Next Door Burger Bar. There's some shared septic and other things. So Chris Wilson filed the proper paperwork to alter the premises to remove 8 Jarvis Street from that the combined license that we had previously. So all 3 of those hearings will take place on the 12th, with Chris's application going first, because that sort of sets the ball rolling for the other things to happen. And the other thing that we wanted to share, because we were trying to brainstorm before we knew how many would actually show up and apply. I mean, I know the board's talked about it in the past, and it's something we should do as a full group, but hypothetically, 4 people applied for 2 licenses. Brian Riley has always said from town council's office, you could the board could decide how would the public best be served by these applications, and you could talk about that to say maximum number of people would be served if we gave this to X. It's a way you could do it. Traditionally, we've always done first come, first serve, because we've never had a lot of licenses that were available. I'm not saying we should switch now, but it's just something that we were brainstorming, like what if that happened, and it didn't. So I guess we sort of dodged a bullet. And it's been a whole week and no other applications come in, but it's still something in the future we might want to talk about, because, until the state sort of loosens up some of those really tight restrictions on how many licenses a community can have, it's difficult. And I think the other part that we try to tell everyone who asks us about licenses is you can get a seasonal license where you're only closed for 6 months a year. Like, I think it's just February 1st to March 15th. The whole rest of the year you could have, and we have unlimited seasonal all alcohol or beer and wine. So it's sort of interesting, how the process works in Massachusetts and what we have to do. So I don't think we need to go down that path of what's the greater public good. So I think we sort of dodged a bullet, but it wouldn't surprise me if it comes up again in the future. And I don't know if Melissa's going to come in on the 12th, because there's a lot of complex things and she's so on top of it. And maybe if anyone has anything to say on this, we wanted to get back to you too about the Captain's Seafood Bar and Grill, which we'll talk about in a minute.
Okay.
Charlie, I got one thing. It's the time to bring it up or not, I don't know. The Snowy Owl, remember there was some controversy about parking? Did it ever get squared away?
No, it's if you're a public street in Sandwich without a restriction, public parking's allowed. I know the owners, we've shared what the neighbor concerns are. We've talked about, how they might be able to expand parking on their site, or are there properties nearby that maybe they could work a deal out with where people could park there? I don't think anything's been, I think that could be a valid thing that the board wants to talk to them about when they
Yeah,
come
They
forward.
come in, they might want to get it squared away.
Yep, yeah. And we do get a lot of public input on that one issue.
You're going to talk about?
Yeah, just on captains, so I know a lot of discussion had happened previously, and sort of who has the biggest, the biggest authority, it's DEP. So I know they've been in regular discussion with the property owners about removing the debris, and especially I believe there's some asbestos there and some other things that need to be taken care of properly. If you've driven by, so far nothing's happened. I know our building commissioner is in regular contact with the individual at the state, and they're constantly touching base. I think what would make sense, if the board's okay with it, is the two of us along with Melissa should probably talk to Brian Riley at KP just to find out what sort of hearing can be held. And then, I'm just being honest, how far you can push things after a property's been destroyed by fire, knowing that we have to focus on the alcohol license, not the other issues. But obviously, the fire department, the building commissioner, they're all concerned about what's there still. And if there's any way we could possibly, I'll check with Brian, but if we can do the proper notification and I can check with the board and we can have that on the night of the 12th, it could be like a good night to do a bunch of liquor license issues.
Oh, yes, yes.
My past recollection is there's a lot of leeway given by the state to properties that have experienced damage like that, but that you don't just ignore it, like you try to put them on notice to, keep things moving forward.
All right, well, they should be interacting with the fire department and the DPW as well, right?
Yeah, and I think, DEP has a lot of authority. And the gentleman that we've been dealing with is very knowledgeable.
I think that's one of the challenges, but is that there is absolutely no action taking place towards moving anything forward there. And I know the last information you provided us kind of had some promises that had been made by ownership that were unfulfilled. So this looks to me like something that is just going to continue to drag on, which I think drives our ability and need to have the hearing.
Yep.
If there is asbestos in there, we need to get it cleaned up.
Yes.
I mean, it is a health hazard, and it's been going on and on and on and on. So I think we need to take some action to get that cleaned up and get it out of there, So whatever we can do to speed it up, I think we should do.
I mean, this isn't quite apples to apples, but the board may remember there was a significant fire at a house just down 130, sort of near the Legion.
Cleaned up, we did that, yeah, right.
There were like, I guess, worse hazardous materials, so we had to clean that up immediately without no questions asked. And my rough recollection is we incurred like $50,000 to $75,000 worth of expenses, and unfortunately, the person did not have the financial ability to pay that back. But a couple years down the road, the property was sold, and we had the right things in place where we got paid. That was paid back. And I think if you guys remember, we upfronted the cost, but we kept you and the finance committee updated. And I think at the end, maybe at the close of that year, the finance committee approved a reserve fund transfer just to cover the deficit. And then we did eventually get that money back, but it took years.
I'm sorry, I don't remember. Was the DEP involved in that one?
That
or-
was different because of Bob could explain it better. There were so many things in the house, and there were exploding dozens of exploding propane tanks, etc. And when you put that much water in, the basement fills up with water from getting the fire out, and it was a total, So it was total after that, and everything was right.
I feel like that was a teardown like the same day or the next day.
It was.
It was like it was immediate.
It was immediate, yeah, and the state fire marshal's office was involved. Yep.
Yes.
Yep. But we'll talk to Brian, and then I'll keep Charlie updated in the interim, and then if we can schedule something for the 12th, that would make sense.
Very interested. in
Even if we
what
can't
Brian
do
has to
it-
say. Thank you.
Maybe we can have a couple of the departments do some research and give us a report so we can at least talk about it.
Well, because I remember that house.
Yeah.
And it seemed to me at the time that the FD took the lead on it to get it cleaned up.
Yeah, it didn't take too long. It was like, I think B&B took and knocked it down, took it all away, and that was it. I mean, I think we kind of got the same thing going on down with this one.
Well, it's just
You
that
gotta
there's
get it
no
cleaned up.
structure down here, though, you know, that the structure is essentially gone.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the foundation's gonna be full of water. If there is asbestos in there,
Right. Okay,
see what we can do to
okay,
get it going.
okay. So we're looking, okay, thank you very much. Anybody else on those issues, items? Other matters not reasonably anticipated by the chair? I have none. Anybody else? Okay.
I'd just like to jump in real quick, and I know we don't have a meeting for a few weeks, but I just think it's worth kind of mentioning. We've had probably a few more snowstorms than we're used to having in a while, and I know that we continue to have a pretty significant shortage of private plow contractors, which is impacting our ability to clean up things in a efficient and timely fashion. So, but I'm just not sure if there might be any updates or comments you can share around that. I don't imagine there's been an influx of new contractors, but I know that the lack of contractors is a real issue. And one of my general concerns is, as we look towards the future, you know, is this a situation that we anticipate changing, or are there things that we could change as part of our requirements to overcome this issue as we go forward? You know, I just looked at the forecast, right? I don't see any snowstorms ahead, but if it continues to snow a little bit this winter, it's going to be a point of frustration for residents.
Yeah, I know compared to 5 years ago, we don't have as many private contractors. 2 years ago, I think, was our lowest level. Last year, we did a little bit better. I think this year we're close to similar amounts to last year, but it's still not what we used to have. And I think the two things that I constantly hear are a lot of private contractors decide it's not worth it to do the town roads because the wear and tear on their equipment and the insurance requirements that we have to demand of them from our insurance company. And so we've actually tried to work with our insurance company to see if we could provide if they're insuring 150 cities and towns across the state, can't we get a good policy for less money, and we could either pay that for them or get them a cheaper insurance than they could on their own. And I know that's something we've looked at. I'm just being blunt. We can't keep up with Barnstable and what the incentives that they pay, and it's been hard. And there have been a lot of nights where the days haven't been that bad, but tonight's a perfect example. The day was nice, and I'm sure it's freezing out there, and it's probably going to be slick, and we'll probably have to go out and sand again tonight, I would think. But it's...
One thing that I think we may want to consider, and this is where policy and capital investment drive issues like this. I think one thing we could consider is if we're owning a truck as the town. So for example, while it snows and there's the necessity for snow and ice control, the 4 natural resource 4-wheel drive trucks sleep wonderfully in the town parking lot during that storm event. And the facility maintenance people have 2 trucks, and the school department guys have 2 trucks. And I did this in Brewster, so I'm speaking from experience. It's a lot easier for Sandwich to recruit drivers to drive our trucks than it is to get someone to go out drive down to Hyannis and invest $100,000 in a truck and a plow, never mind a sander. So it works really well in Brewster. We had a lot of firefighters who drove for us off time. We had guys who worked in DPWs in other towns who just liked the idea of driving a truck and not having to worry if the truck breaks down. The town of Sandwich owns the truck. But we have a significant resource that we own that can help us with this task. And if it's the difference between, we had as many as 27 private contractors when I was there, from 86 to 96. And if you can get that to go from, you're not having much luck beyond 12 now, and you can get 6 or 8 more out of trucks you already own, it's something we ought to be looking at. So that's just an operational thing that is worth pursuing.
And just to back up what you said, Patrick, I approved 2, part-time appointments, people who approached and said, hey, I'm qualified to drive, can I, and we just approved 2 people just before Christmas, but
Yeah, and
to drive our equation. Yeah.
And the light
Yep.
pickups don't require a CDL. They're not heavy enough, so you're not taking the people out of that equation. It's really something we ought to be looking at, because it can rescue us from ourselves. And it's inevitable that this is going to happen, particularly with the capital cost of buying a truck. And if you're a mason contractor, or if you're a drywall contractor, you can't afford these days to add four-wheel drive onto your pickup truck and a plow, and then keep it in good shape, and then be available for us to call. See, that's the other part about this, is the needing these people to be available. So, thank you for that, Dave. You got me thinking about that.
Thank you.
Excellent. Okay. Anybody else for public comment? Or anyone for public comment, I should say. Yes, Mr. Houlihan.
Very briefly, I just really want to thank you for the appointment of Juliet.
Just as protocol, please state your name and address.
Oh, sure. Paul Houlihan,
Lights on, please.
June Lane, East Sandwich.
Thank you.
As I said, I congratulate you on getting Juliet this permanent appointment. I've been playing golf badly at Sandwich Hollows for 20 years. And for a lot of those years, it was a slog. But I've seen since she took over under difficult circumstances, as you indicated, it's like night and day. The attitude of the employees, when you walk into the pro shop now, you're greeted respectfully. How are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. And you can see it in the quality of the course. You can see it in the relationship with Jane Frost. I mean, Juliet and Jane have really forged a very positive relationship. I mean, the irony is, here you've got a woman who's an LPGA Hall of Fame golf teacher at Sandwich Hollows. And finally, looking forward, she's going to get the public recognition and the publicity that's only going to accrue to the golf course itself. So I'll stop there, but thank you for making that appointment.
And thank you. Appreciate your comments. Okay. Anybody else? Closing remarks? Just as we close, please continue to keep efforts for peace in our world in your prayers. Can't hurt. Motion to
Motion we adjourn.
Second?
motion by Mr. George, second by Mr. Ellis. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 It's unanimous. Our next meeting is Thursday, January 29th, 2026, at 7 p.m. here in Historic Town Hall. Well, not counting the
Next Monday.
Next Monday afternoon, right? Okay.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you very much.
Have a good night, everybody. Thank you so
as
much.
well.